Welcome to a soccer down here, over there, everywhere hot drop. It's John checking in on a Monday, and I figured since this is normally in the PM, it is a soccer over there-ness. I figured what I would do is, after a couple of hits around Atlanta United, go through the Premier League. I know that Nick is focusing on one team in particular, so I will focus on the other 19 and tell you that I have to stick with my predictions from early on. But early returns, it's good to see everybody out west and putting 7 goals in the back of the net on a incredibly just sun-drenched afternoon in Southern California. But the one thing that did stick out to me, there were a couple of things, but one thing, it was good to see the guys getting everything all figured out. At least the early returns looked pretty good. And it's going to be fun watching PT Martinez. And I have the feeling that he might be early run for MVP. That'll be hot take number one. That's going to be your hot take first out of the blocks for me here on Monday. And also on the board, I was looking at some of the cutaways, and as someone who was raised in Southern California and at one point wanted to go play baseball at Cal State Fullerton for Augie Garrido, to see the football stadium the way that it is, it's kind of sad. But that's just me. And Mike Pringle is the name that sticks with me when it comes to Cal State Fullerton Titan football and Damon Allen. So it's sad to see the football stadium the way that it is now. All right, so I know that Nick was going after Newcastle, and understandably so, at least at Daniel Campos, with Miguel Almiron heading that direction. So completely get it with Nick, and that's why I'm laying off of Newcastle, but I am going to say I think Newcastle stays up, and I'm really hoping that Miguel is a part of keeping them up, and he and Solomon Rondon hooking up, putting the ball in the back of the net, which is something that they have not been able to do a lot this season. 21 goals. And that puts them next to last in offensive output in the Premier League. Right now, you're at negative 12 on goal difference, and that's one of the reasons that you're hanging out, because you're near the bottom when it comes to goals allowed. And that makes up for the fact that you've only scored 21 on the year. Looking forward to maybe seeing Miggy on Monday night against Wolves. Now, everybody else, early on in the year, I said that it was going to be Manchester City and Liverpool, and I guess I have to stick to that. And that means that Manchester City goes back-to-back right now after match week 25, 19-2-4, and a goal difference of plus 46. After the result that Liverpool kind of limped their way through, and really they should have lost, considering that James Milner was offside, a great deal offside, and the AR on that side completely missed it. Liverpool escaped with a point. And with the midweek game that's been moved up with Everton, they should be even on points by then. So look at the next 5 matches. And I honestly think that with 2 derbies that Liverpool have to go after, with Manchester United and with Everton, I think it's going to be a bit of a rough run for them. And I think that Manchester City, with this Everton fixture slid up, kind of puts a little pressure on them. And then finishing with a cup final in that same time frame, I think that Liverpool's going to be looking over their shoulder. And I think that Manchester City may grind this one out by the time we're done. And I think that Spurs with a healthy Harry Kane will be a part of the discussion too, but I think that they're still going to stick with 3. I think that Chelsea has questions when it comes to Maurizio Sarri. And after apparently the undressing against Bournemouth, there was a discussion that Sarri had, after a 45-minute talk, didn't travel back with the team, traveled back independently. So I think that there's a lot of stuff going on at Chelsea right now. Does Sarri come back? I'm not so sure. Although I really wish Manchester United at 5 would give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the gig, because of what he's been able to do in the run that he's had, 9 wins and a draw in their last 10. It's his. I know that they want Pochettino from Spurs, because for the first time ever in the history of the Premier League, a team has not invested once in 2 straight transfer windows, Spurs. And obviously I'd be frustrated too if I was Pochettino having to deal with Daniel Levy right now. So I think Spurs finished 3rd. And I think Chelsea's 4th, but don't be surprised if Manchester United hops them and finishes 4th as well. I think with Arsenal, you have to be patient. Give them another year. Unai Emery is still in the process of getting folks out. We know about the contract situation with Mesut Ozil, and really high-priced guy, not one of Unai Emery's guys. So don't be surprised if there's some kind of a move with Ozil in the offseason as well. Now, there's traditionally 3 groups in the Premier League. You have the Big 6, then it's 7 through 12 or 13, and then everybody fighting relegation. Right now through match week 25, I like what Nuno Espirito Santo has done in their first year with Wolves. I think they've done fantastic work, and I think that Wolves and Watford will be right there at 7 and 8. Everton, I think the questions around Marco Silva are there. Ronald Koeman and everything that went on with Everton and his dismissal and bringing in Silva and all of that, I think it's created a big mess at Everton. I think that Bournemouth has kind of slogged their way through. I think that Bournemouth actually finishes above Everton by the time the season's done. And that gets us to the midpoint of everything. And you're looking at Leicester and West Ham. I think that those two will be fighting it out. I don't know if Claude Puel will make it to next season, although I think that if you give Pellegrini another year, I think that it'll be interesting to see what he can do with West Ham. And I still want Chicharito to make his way to Houston. I think that would be tremendous for MLS if Chicharito ended up moving his way that way. Now, Brighton has been a bit of an interesting case. 3 losses, 2 draws, so only 2 points in their last 5 matches, hanging out right now at 13th. And because of this recent run of poor form, they're more looking toward the bottom grouping than they are the middle group. I think that they'll keep things square. I think that they'll figure it out by the end. They'll grind out results. It won't be the prettiest soccer that you will see all season long. I think that Brighton will be around. I don't think that they'll be in a part of the discussion when it comes to relegation, even though right now only 5 points separate them from the drop. Crystal Palace, Roy Hodgson, you know what he's been able to do. I think that they'll be there too. We all know about Newcastle and what everybody thinks about that. Now to the fun part. Southampton, Burnley, Cardiff. I think that Burnley really is too good defensively, and I also think that with Tom Heaton back in net, I think that's going to help them out. I think they're safe. Southampton and Cardiff, for me, that's the discussion point. I said going in that it was going to be Southampton, Cardiff, and Fulham to be relegated. I thought Huddersfield would find a way, but the wheels just completely and totally came off. And Jan Sievert is not going to be the savior that a lot of folks might have thought. And following the David Wagner train, I think it's going to be Huddersfield and Fulham trying to figure out that third team. And Ralph Hasenhüttl with Southampton only having 18 guys normally. That's all he wants. He wants 18 guys he can depend on for the stretch run. I think that might cost him. I think Cardiff stays up. I think Southampton ends up dropping. I think Burnley is safe, but barely. Remember the key, 40 points. That's the key here with 13 matches to go. That's my hot drop on the Premier League. Let me know what you think at OSG Nelson and at Soccer Down Here on Twitters. We'll see you on the air.